Look to the north and you will see the remains of Easton Wood, where Southwold originally got its name. It was called the settlement south of the wood, with wold being an Anglo-Saxon name for wood. To the right is the boating lake, which also accommodates the model yacht pond, from which the annual model yacht regattas have been taking place for well over 100 years. Opposite the pier is the putting green, which, like the boating lake, is a very traditional amenity and is currently owned by Southwold Town Council. In 1900, Southwold Pier was built complete with a concert hall at its entrance. The original pier was blown up in the middle during World War II to stop enemy invasion, and a sea mine and strong tides demolished the remainder. The new pier is some 200 feet shorter than the previous one, which was rebuilt and opened in 2002. But it still has a T-end, which originally allowed paddle steamers to pick up passengers en route from Great Yarmouth to London. On the east side of the pier building is a painting of George Orwell and some of his famous phrases. He lived in the town in his late teens, and later again in 1929, when he moved back into his parents' home in the High Street. The concrete base of the promenade was built in the 1930s and allowed the previous bathing machines to have a solid base. This base evolved into the stretch of the now famous coloured beach huts we see today. Over the years, high tides and the 1953 flood have washed away and damaged the huts, only for them to be rebuilt. A local, who affectionately known as the Beach Hut Man, built the majority of the 75 huts north of the pier and rebuilt and repaired many others during his lifetime. To buy a beach hut now will cost between £70,000 for the smaller ones north of the pier and as much as £200,000 at the Gun Hill end.
this bit, Pete.
Built in 1889 to replace a wooden tower on the beach, the current lighthouse is 101 feet tall, and the town mayor at the time, Mr. Eustace Grubb, laid the first of the 1.5 million bricks, which were brought to Southwold via the railway and steam locomotive called Puffing Billy. Originally, it was lit by an 8-ton oil burner, then replaced by a petrol burner in 1923, until it went all electric in 1938. Today, it is unmanned and lit by a small halogen bulb that produces a single beam of light which can be seen from 6 nautical miles away. It has 120 steps, and tours are operated by a local charity for community-based funds. At the back of the lighthouse on East Green is the world-famous Adnams Brewery, with brewing records dating back to 1345. The Adnams brothers, George and Ernest, arrived in 1872, and next year they will be celebrating 150 years with a special brew. Tours are available, both of the brewery and the new distillery. The main room is open to visitors and contains many seafaring photographs and models. The reading room was built in 1864 by the widow of Captain Charles Rayleigh as a harbour of temperance for sailors to keep them out of the many pubs in the town. The 6 18-pounder muzzle-loading guns were cast in 1705 and given to the town to protect it from the insults of the common enemy. The guns were last fired in 1842 in tragic circumstances to mark the birthday of the then Prince of Wales, James Martin. A volunteer Coast Guard in charge of firing the number 1 gun looked down the muzzle to discover why it had not fired, when it did just that and blew his head off. It is said that his ghost can still be seen around number 1 gun on certain nights. The guns had to be buried on the common during the 2 world wars, as the enemy might see the town as being fortified and a threat. But this did not stop the town from being bombed, and 77 properties were destroyed and 13 people killed. This is the small octagonal building on Gun Hill and was originally built as a reading room. It has served as a Coast Guard lookout station and then as the RNLI Museum, and more recently the base for a local radio station. It is now a listed building owned by the town council and is leased to a firm of architects.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Oh yeah. You can't be a spaniel party, can you?
Sorry.
You're alright. She loves all that. She's a sociable one. He's normally the jealous one.
See you later. Bye. You too.
Okay, thank you, mate.
The waters of Southwold saw the famous Battle of Sol Bay in 1672. The then Duke of York established his fleet headquarters at the Sutherland House in the High Street, but the English were caught unprepared when the Dutch fleet came into sight. Most of the sailors were still ashore, recovering from a night's drinking in the taverns, and it took a drummer 4 hours to muster them for action. Fortunately, after a hard and lengthy battle, although with much loss of life, the Dutch were driven off. The Earl of Sandwich went down with his vessel. Formerly in a lifeboat shed in Cromer, the structure was towed from North Norfolk to its current location in 1998 and is named after the Alfred Corey lifeboat, which served Southwold for 25 years, from 1893 until the end of the First World War in 1918. In that time, her crew, under coxswain Sam May, saved 47 lives. In that time, her crew, under coxswain Sam May, saved 47 lives. After Sam retired, he hired out deck chairs and bathing machines on the beach. It is still a working harbour today, with a few inshore boats going out daily to catch fish to sell on the shore. In 1754, the River Blythe Navigation Act was passed, and the river was made navigable by wherries up to Halesworth. The current RNLI lifeboat is housed at the end of Ferry Road. The herring industry was the underlying aspect to Southwold's economy, going back to before Doomsday in the 11th century. In 1906, a fish market was built, and the Scottish fishing fleet used Southwold as its base. Just before the First World War, scores of Scotswomen were imported to gut and pack herrings, which proved a fascinating sight to the Southwold men.